Welcome back to Lissy's Brain and Emmett. Today, this video is all about PTSD. So for anyone that doesn't know what PTSD is, I decided I'm going to add a flowchart so it'll explain it a little better. And frankly, it'll make this look cool. So, you'll start with the initial trauma, or traumas if it's long going. And then, after that, you have all the symptoms. So from the trauma, you could get flashbacks, difficulty sleeping, you could be sad, you could be anxious. There's so many things, but it all stems from the one trauma. In my personal experience, I experienced a trauma from being 7 years old. This trauma was from my cousin. He decided to do sexual assault. Or that's just a nicer term to me because I don't like using the other word. It sounds more harsh in my opinion, or I just can't say it because of the trauma. It's suspected that my trauma started before 7, but I don't remember it. So that's what we're working on in therapy right now. A lot of people only associate PTSD with war victims, which is very common for them to have that. But the reality is that there are so many other forms of PTSD that you can get from different things. And because of this, a lot of people don't understand the symptoms and the thinking and the ideals that come from it. PTSD is not always just flashbacks and memories and everything else. There are so many different ways that you can express it. For me personally, PTSD comes in the form of focusing on a bunch of things. For example, if someone says something to me that triggers me, I will focus on it. And I will focus on it until I can figure out what to say to this person. And I have to confront them about it, because if I don't, I think that I'm not a good person, or I think that I'm not okay, and that I'm in danger, and that I'm way back to 7 years old, when in reality, I'm still the same 19-year-old person in my bedroom. Another common thing is that PTSD can really make people suicidal. I mean, I've had my fair share of scares on that ideal because of the suicidal ideation. And yes, I know, that sounds crazy, but don't worry, I am safe. Little humor for you. From your trauma, you think that things aren't going to get better, because when you have to work in therapy about it, things have to get worse before they get better. You have to open up your trauma. You have to say your trauma over and over again until you're desensitized. That's exposure therapy. You have to say so many things that you didn't think you'd say. You'd blame yourself because the emotions come up, and that is scary. And because of that, a lot of people don't want to deal with it, and then that's when they decide that ending their lives is so much easier than dealing with it, because the weight of their trauma isn't what they want it to be. Guys, on the other hand, are afraid to admit weakness sometimes because of the way that the world around us is giving them a stereotype. And because of this, they have a higher suicide rate. And that I don't think is okay either. And if you're a guy watching this and you have PTSD, by all means, you do not become weak because you go to therapy. You are not weak, and you are incredibly strong for going through this daily struggle. And I support you. Anyone that goes through this, in my mind, is a straight up warrior. In school, I used to get made fun of for that tattoo. So, if that's the case, I'm gonna make fun of myself. In my opinion, I have some coping skills that will help when you're in a PTSD episode. And the first one I'd say is changing it in your mind. So my social emotional teacher in school taught me this, and it really helps. So say you're thinking of your trauma and you can't stop reliving it. Change one detail. So for example, if I had a traumatic incident with my cousin, which I did, change the color on the walls. Now they're ridiculous color green. So then in your mind, it doesn't make sense. And it's ridiculous for the color of the walls, so it focuses more on that. For me, that really helps because it gets me out of the mindset that I'm in, and it helps me focus on something else. Another one is sensory objects such as stress balls or frozen oranges, because the frozen oranges can really help give you a sensation in your hands by the cold, or they smell like oranges, which helps you bring you back to reality and not in your mind where your trauma is occurring again. But all in all, you are amazing, you are strong, you are courageous, and you are no less of a person because of your trauma, guys. And I support you 100%.